King Charles has shaken hands with Chancellor Jeremy Hunt ahead of tomorrow's crunch budget. Charles met with Mr. Hunt in his private audience room at Buckingham Palace earlier on Tuesday. The Chancellor meets with the monarch usually the day before the government's plans for the economy are delivered in a statement to the Commons. Charles, dressed in a blue suit and pale tie, was smiling broadly as he welcomed Mr. Hunt to the palace. His Majesty later travelled to Clarence House as the monarch continues his treatment for cancer. The King appeared to be in a positive mood as he was pictured arriving back at the royal residence. The 75-year-old is not carrying out public duties while he has treatment but is continuing with behind-the-scenes work on state papers. While he steps back from official visits, other members of the royal family have stepped up to take on extra duties. Queen Camilla has been holding down the fort since King Charles' cancer diagnosis in January. She has completed 13 official engagements solo since her husband's condition came to light but is now expected to hand the reins over to the Prince of Wales and Princess Anne whilst she takes a break. The King was diagnosed with an undisclosed form of cancer following hospital treatment for an enlarged prostate earlier this year, which was unrelated. He was treated in the same hospital as the Princess of Wales, who underwent abdominal surgery for an unknown condition in January. Kensington Palace said last week that Kate would return to royal engagements after Easter. Most recently, the Queen met Ukraine's First Lady Olena Zelenska at Clarence House on Thursday. They were pictured in conversation as they sat in the garden room, with their meeting coming just days after the second anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Camilla was also pictured placing her arm behind Ms. Zelenska's back as she guided her along a hallway ahead of their meeting. Ms. Zelenska posted a video on social media showing Camilla greeting her warmly with a kiss on both cheeks and saying, "Hello." "How very nice to see you." She wrote that she was delighted to personally express my gratitude to Her Majesty Queen Camilla, and in her person the whole at royal family and all people of the UK for supporting Ukraine, and our IDPs, internally displaced persons. Our values are common: life, freedom, democracy. Thank you for standing up for them together today. The meeting also focused in on the family photos on display, including portraits of the Queen Mother, the late Queen, a teenage Prince Harry, and an image of the King cradling a baby in his arms, believed to be one of his grandchildren. The Queen and the First Lady met previously in November 2022 at a Buckingham Palace reception to raise awareness of violence against women. Ms. Zelenska was a guest at the King and Queen's coronation last May. representing her war-torn nation with its Prime Minister Dennis Sh. Mile. Last week, Camilla also led the royal family at a memorial service for King Constantine of Greece at St. George Chapel, Windsor. Meanwhile, the Prince of Wales visited Western Marble Arch Synagogue in London on Friday to meet young people representing Jewish students and others helping to combat anti-Semitism. He also spent a time with Holocaust survivor Renee Salt, 94, and held her hand after she recounted her fears about the rise in hatred and told her, "It must be horrible for all of you worrying about this, and I am sorry it's got to this. It will get better." The future king's visit to the synagogue came after he called for the fighting in the Israel-Hamas war to end as soon as possible and increased humanitarian support for Gaza, during a visit last week to the London headquarters of the British Red Cross. William heard the personal evidence of the young people who spoke about how Jewish students across the country have been affected by the rise of hatred on the streets of Britain, which had created a climate of fear. He told them, "Well, you've heard it from me. Anti-Semitism has no place in society. You've heard that from me, okay. I've said that before and I'll say it again." And hearing all your lived experiences, both Catherine and I are extremely concerned about the rise in anti-Semitism that you guys have talked about so eloquently this morning. And I am just so sorry you've had to experience that. It has no place and it should not happen. So that's why I am here today, to reassure you all that people do care, people do listen, and we can't let that keep going. Kate was due to join William for the synagogue visit, which had been planned to mark Holocaust Memorial Day, but she is recovering from an abdominal operation. Mrs. Salt remembered the princess when she spoke with William. "I am sure if your wife would have been well she would have been here. I miss her so much, give her my best wishes." She told the prince how she was moved from ghetto to ghetto during the Second World War, and he expressed his condolences when she said her mother died 12 days after they were liberated from Bergen-Belsen concentration camp by the British Army in 1945. William suggested it was important those who experienced the Holocaust continued to talk to the next generation. Mrs. Salt replied, "Some of the young people don't even believe it ever happened."